Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Kaya Marman, Kaya Yoga, Kaya Bridie, Yana Nook, Nalak Kadij Winjialak Nini, Nalak Kadij Nija Buja Bal, Wajak Nunga, Buja Nalak Nini, Kora, Nijie Borawan. The town of Bassendean acknowledges the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation as the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to elders past and present and acknowledge their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the region. Welcome, Fiona Parry, providing us and those of you at home with an Auslan interpretation of tonight's meeting. We've had Fiona here last year and very, very welcome to see her back again. Acknowledging our council members, one of whom is running a little bit late. She will be here shortly. And the council members are here to hear your concerns and issues. There are no apologies from staff tonight. As I said, one councillor is running a little late. We will now move on to my address. So, as I said, good evening and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's been an incredible year for the town of Bassendean. A year of progress, collaboration, and community spirit has been very strong and helpful for all of the projects that we've had to do. I'm proud to present this 2024-25 annual report. Together, we've achieved major milestones that reflect our shared vision for a vibrant, sustainable and inclusive town. We secured significant funding for transformational projects. $5.2 million for the Jubilee Reserve Club Rooms redevelopment. This is in addition to $2 million that the town has put into reserves for this project as well. $500,000 for the next stage of the Bassendean Oval Precinct redevelopment. Nearly $2 million to restore and protect Ashfield Flats. Stage 1 of the BIC Reserve Master Plan is finished, bringing new lighting, fitness equipment and amenities to this much-loved space. Our sustainability efforts remain strong. We retained Gold Waterwise Council status, planted over 12,000 native trees and plants, launched the Trees to Residents program and purchased 100% renewable electricity and carbon offsets, keeping us on track for carbon neutrality by 2030. We also adopted a sector-leading tree retention policy to protect our urban canopy. We advanced planning for the future with the Town Centre Precinct Structure Plan and delivered programs that foster connection and well-being, such as the Disability Access and Inclusion Plan, another successful year of Relax programs, and Women in the Workshop, which was a new event held in the men's shed. Our commitment to reconciliation continued with engagement for a new reconciliation action plan, and youth services transitioned smoothly to Swan District's football club. Community spirit shone through with over 1,100 volunteer hours via multiple community groups, enhancing our district. Not to mention the volunteers that volunteered for many of our events, such as the Bassendean Markets and the Telethon Community Cinemas. Looking ahead to 2025-26, we'll keep building on this momentum. Key priorities include launching our new Reconciliation Action Plan, advancing Stage 2 of the Bassendean Oval redevelopment, developing actions for the Ashfield Flats Master Plan, planting 500 new street trees, continuing eco-zoning various reserves and foreshore restoration projects, improving road safety and introducing a pre-booked verge collection service. Thank you to our councillors, our staff, administration, volunteers and community for your ongoing support. Together we're building a bright future for generations to come. I'd now like to ask the CEO to present his address, and our Councillor Burke, has now arrived, so welcome, Councillor Burke. Mr. CEO.
Welcome, and everybody, and hard act to follow, Madam Mayor.
I don't think so.
I'll get you to write my speech next time. It gives me great pleasure to present the Town of Bassendean's annual report for the year ending 30th June 2025, a year defined by progress, collaboration and significant external funding and advocacy success. The annual report itself, and I commend it to those that might have a slow night and need some reading. The annual report itself is a high-quality publication that showcases the town's many achievements, including its dedication to delivering against the targets we have set ourselves following engagement with you, our community. I take this opportunity to thank all the staff involved in developing this year's annual report for 2024-25. As the Mayor mentioned, one of our most significant achievements has been securing major funding partnerships with the WA and Australian governments. This success is directly attributed to the development of the town's first advocacy policy and a targeted advocacy plan, and through the development of key stakeholder relationships and being very persistent. And I commend the Mayor in this regard, because her persistence went a long way to securing some significant funding. We stayed the mile and we have reaped the rewards. We also welcomed a landmark housing initiative at One Park Lane, which will deliver 72 social and affordable apartments, support local businesses and, more importantly, set the stage for a revitalised town centre, particularly at this west end of Old Perth Road. Alongside these major projects, we focused on improving everyday amenity and safety for you, our community. Works at the BIC Reserve, added new lighting and fitness equipment and public facilities. The low-cost urban road safety program and expansion of our ranger services demonstrate our commitment to keeping Bassendean safe and accessible. Community engagement has been central to our approach. Feedback from you, our residents, has shaped priorities and ensured our services reflect local aspirations. Financial sustainability remains a cornerstone of our operations. Guided by prudent management and long-term planning, we've delivered key projects while increasing our financial position. I take this opportunity to acknowledge the dedication of our staff and thank council members for their leadership and support as we strive to retain Bassendean's unique character and deliver better outcomes for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. I'd now invite our Director of Corporate Services, Ms. Amanda Alderson, to provide her address to the community.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, councillors and members of the public. Tonight I will give you a high-level financial overview of how Town of Bassendean performed financially in the 24-25 financial year. The town's audited annual financial statements are included in the annual report, commencing at the back, page 59. I am pleased to report that the town received an unqualified audit opinion, which means the auditor found that our finances were well managed and properly reported. On page 63, the income statement shows that the operating revenue was 1.1 million higher than last year and 1.3 million above budget. There were two main reasons for this. The town received financial assistance grants earlier than expected, worth approximately $394,000, and interest income was about $825,000 higher than budget due to high interest rates and the town carefully managing and investing its cash in line with its investment policy. At the same time, the town kept strong control over its spending. Operating costs were lower than budget and about $600,000 lower than last year, largely due to an end-of-year provision adjustment. On page 64 of the balance sheet shows that the town's cash position improved by around $3 million compared to last year. This reflects strong cash inflows and the timing of some infrastructure payments. Overall, these results show that the town managed its money carefully and responsibly and remains in a sound and stable financial position. Happy to take any questions, and I've also brought Rooney De Silva here, who assists.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Ms. Alderson, for that. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item on the agenda is receiving the 24-25 annual report. But before moving that particular motion, I'll ask if there are any questions or clarifications required regarding the contents of the report. If you do have a question, you may come to the microphone, state your name and address, raise your hand and I'll call you to come to the microphone. So this is questions on the annual report only at the moment. Mr Grogan, if you'd state your name and address.
Michael Grogan, 5 Land Street. The quick one.
Is the microphone on?
Press the button for you. All right. I found a job for you, Michael. Oh, thank you, my son. Look, my question relates to the outgoings as far as the employment, because I distinctly remember being told a figure, maybe 2 years ago now, almost 2 years ago, that we were paying out about 91.5% of our income into salaries. Has that changed? That's the question.
CEO, I will pass that question to the CEO.
Thanks, Michael. Without a calculator, I can't, but we have made significant improvements. I think we're in the high 70s at the moment.
Okay.
For that formula has moved over the 3 years.
Yeah, I'll thank you, because I know you weren't happy at the time. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll just add that I'm very grateful for the administration in some of the way in which they've enabled staff to transition to other positions, and it's worked very well for us thus far. But the journey is not yet finished.
Annie Macbeth, also known as Annie Mac, of Maley Street, Ashfield. I should know the answer to this question, but where can we have a copy of the report that we are now going to be voting on? Usually there are copies presented or on the table when we come in, but that hasn't happened this year. Have we been informed by emails?
Can I just respond, Madam Mayor, that they've been online, is it correct?
That's correct.
And in the library?
On the website?
And at the customer service.
So at the Customer Service Centre of the library and online, they're currently publication, but I'm happy to share mine at the moment. So.
That's fine. Thank you.
There were some copies at the entrance when you came in, but I don't know if there's any left there now. So, thank you. Okay. Any other questions on the annual report? Ladies and gentlemen, okay. Okay, we've responded to the queries that are in the chamber. My understanding, Mr CEO, is other questions that might have come in online have been, you've emailed responses already, correct?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, we've had 4 questions from the public, but none of them relate to the annual report.
Yep.
Yes, and those questions have been answered, and I think if the people aren't here tonight, then they can probably just appear in the minutes.
Yep, okay. So any questions that have been emailed through, all of those things appear in the minutes of the meeting that are published after this event. So that's... The motion is that the 24-25 annual report to the town of Bassendean be received. Now, what I require is a mover, followed by my request for a second. Moved, Ms Seidel. Sorry, I elevated you to the role of councillor. I'm not sure if you want that role, do you? No, okay. And do I have a seconder? Ms Macbeth? Do I have anyone against? Okay. I will ask for everyone to raise their hand in support of their yellow cards. I do note that if you have a yellow card, you don't have to vote, but it would be nice to see a sea of yellow. But anyway. Yep, okay. So unless there's anyone voting against, I declare that carried. So that report has been received by the community. This then brings us on to item 7, which is general business, which is statements and questions from our electors. The administration has not received any written statements by email. As no written statements have been submitted, I will now ask if there are any statements from the floor with a maximum of 3 minutes per statement. Electors wishing to speak, please come to the microphone and state your name and address. And if you'd raise your hand if you have a statement. Ms Seidel. Questions will come after statements if you...
I have to, first it's Carol Seidel of 55 Broadway, Bassendean. Firstly, I have to congratulate the environmental manager and the depot tree planting team who are endeavouring to improve our tree canopy. Plus the fact that they're also watering the historic oaks on West Road over the summer period. And I can tell you, because of us experiencing extreme heat a few days ago, all our trees need watering. But anyway, we've got to keep the trees alive on the verges. And I think the depot staff, especially when you've got people like Gabrielle, who's really committed, and I think we're lucky to have him as an employee of the town of Bassendean. Thank you.
Thank you. Other statements? Mr Grogan?
Well, it's in two parts.
Come to the microphone, Mr Grogan.
Michael Grogan, 5 Lamb Street, Bassendean.
Mr Grogan, you may proceed with your question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, my question, and it's been a bit of a bugbear, is that, and I'll give you an intro, and I said before, in 3 years' time, my family has been in this area for 200 years, so 1829, so I have an affinity with the river and Guildford and all around here. Some years ago, the 2 jetties down at the Point Reserves were removed, and the council at the time declared that they were going to take a holistic review, attitude to the whole thing, and there was a lot of surveys done and all the rest of it. This Point Reserve is virtually a sacred site for the people of Bassendean, or the young people of Bassendean. That's what forms what we are. That's what you've got on your number plates.
Mr Grogan, this is a question time, so
Well,
you're
it's a
going to have
question, but it's a writer to the
Okay,
question.
you'll have to get to your question, Mr
Okay.
Grogan.
That we have home by the swan on our plates. What I'm saying to you is, what progress have you made with the government as far as funding for reinstating at least one of those jetties to complement what we've got in our town?
I'm going to pass that to the CEO.
Thanks for the question, Michael. I might refer to the Director of Infrastructure, because this matter is about to come to Council. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. CEO and Michael. The town has, over the last couple of years, tried its best, I guess, to find some external funding from the state and in particular the state, and that's been unsuccessful. However, we have used our own funding to prepare a detailed design of the jetty. Now that's almost complete, and that'll be also combined with some costings of what the jetty would cost, plus some foreshore stabilisation in that area. The intent is that design and the costings will be presented to council over the next couple of months as part of the budget workshops. And really, council will make a decision about whether, firstly, it proceeds with the jetty based on that information, and I guess what time frame. So in terms of priority in the 10-year financial plan. So that's where it's at. We expect to have the design and the costings very, very soon in readiness for those presentations to council.
Okay, thank you. Now, I've neglected to indicate that, as the CEO had mentioned earlier in the piece, that there were 4 written questions provided by email, which responses have already been provided for. Now, are there any further questions from people? Ms Seidel, if you'd like to come to the microphone.
It's Carol Seidel again from 55 Broadway. Last week I had the privilege of talking on the ABC Drive show about synthetic grass, when I boasted about the town of Bassendean introduced a total ban on synthetic grass over 20 years ago, and I think Jenny Carter was on the council at the time. And from what I remember, the reason why they banned it on verges is it was going to be costing the council a lot of money to have it taken to landfill, you know, when it deteriorated, and so prevention was better than cure. Anyway, the council today wanted synthetic grass not to end up in landfill, and the same should happen today. The heat and the damage from synthetic grass is a real concern, as it generates more than 30% than ordinary grass. Some people also report synthetic grass is extremely hot on hot days, as was said on the drive show. You can even burn your feet on a really hot day on synthetic grass. So I see this as a health hazard as well. Personally, I'd like to see synthetic grass banned on all property in Bassendean, but I don't think I'm going to get that wish. The town is trying to increase our tree canopy, and we don't want to have it create the hot island effect.
Ms. Seidel, could you speak into
I'm getting there.
Speak,
I'm nearly
no,
there.
speak into the microphone.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Anyway, getting back to the hot island effect, it would make almost unbearable to live in the climate change here in Bassendean with the impacts on our health and well-being. Does the council fine owners who put synthetic grass on verges within the town?
So let me just... Does the council
Fine.
Fine, okay.
Penalise.
Penalise, okay.
Ask them to remove it.
Yes, okay.
And I can tell you there is one synthetic verge I drive past quite often, which is on Hardy Road in Ashfield.
Okay. So I'm just going to get an answer for you on that.
Yeah.
CEO, who would you like?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Can the Director of Infrastructure comment? Thank you.
Certainly, thanks, Cameron. At the moment, and certainly in the past few years, the council has a policy on verges, and the policy says that synthetic turf is illegal, so it's not allowed. That's also included in our local laws. So presently, with our documentation, synthetic turf isn't approved. Having said that, and not just in Bassendean, you drive around most local governments, there is that synthetic turf being used. And my view, and probably one I need to discuss further with the CEO, is that it's very, very hard to go back and request people remove synthetic turf that's been there for 10 or odd years, which is purely based on current resources. It's very, very difficult. So what I'm saying is that it's not approved now, and certainly while I've been at the town, it's not approved. But in terms of going back as compliance, that's more challenging.
Can I make a comment? Well, I think at the town of Bassendean, who's been very successful in having a resident being billed for pruning whatever, a significant tree on their property, I think the town of Bassendean could also step up to the plate when it comes to synthetic grass. So that's my suggestion. Anyway.
Thank you, Ms. Seidel.
One more thing I want to know.
Yep.
Why do we allow ratepayers to decide they want to concrete the whole front verge of their house for parking? It does happen, and it's a bit like people's, you know, they've got their properties, so therefore they think they own the verge. And as we know, if you plant a tree on a verge in the town of Bassendean, it immediately becomes council property. So you can't, as the house owner, say, oh, I don't like the tree, I'll chop it down. It's not going to happen. So I would like to see the town of Bassendean really be strong on the case of people who think they can just cement up their verge and get away with it, and I feel that they need to be ripping that up as well. So I know I'm on verges tonight, but thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Are there any further questions? Mr. Kay.
Yes, Your Worship. Bruce Kay, 11 Earls Ferry Court, Bassendean. Last year at the Electors meeting, I asked a question in regard to Town Planning Scheme 4A, about it being wound up, and I received a response after the meeting, thank you, but it did say that there was still some activity to go in relation to a land dealing, which was waiting on a response from a minister. Is there an update, please?
I would like Mr. CEO to
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. There is a response, and I might ask the Director or Manager of Planning and Regulation and the Director to respond.
Through you, Madam Mayor, in terms of any progress in relation to the closure of Scheme 4A, there isn't any. We did write requests to the Minister to take an interest in the land and essentially compulsory acquire it. They've advised us through the department that they will not do that at this point in time, and expect the town to negotiate further with the landowner to acquire that land, and we are still in the process of doing that. That land is currently for sale. We've provided information to the real estate agent and any prospective purchasers to contact us, so the town can try and, at a later date, come to an agreement with a future landowner or the like to acquire the portions of land that we do require to close out Scheme 4A.
Just to add on to that question, is it a matter of cost?
Can I
I
just
assume this person could...
Can I just say that we've had a market valuation, and Council has empowered me to go above the market valuation to purchase the site off the original owner, and we failed. That same delegation is still with me for the new owner once it's sold, but there is a point at which Council can't pay above the odds for land that essentially can't be built on. So the land is of no value, as in you can't build on it legally. So we're at sort of a bit of an impasse until the land is transferred from the current owner to the new owner, and we can negotiate with the new owner about that portion of land that we would like back in the Scheme 4A. But there will be a point at which we do not pay above a certain value for the land.
It seems to me, in trying to close up Scheme 4A, which has been one of my sort of objectives for 15 years only, that we don't seem to be getting anywhere again.
I would agree, but I would say that it's not through the lack of the Council's intent. We hoped that the state government would show some leadership and compulsorily acquire the land. We've had 3 attempts to secure the land through what is the correct process and failed. So the state does have the power to take that land for the good of the community and has pushed it back to us to keep negotiating. So we're at a point where we can't negotiate with the current landowner while it's for sale. We can only negotiate with the new owner.
Do you have any idea of a time frame?
We have reached out to the real estate agent and have had negotiations around what an offer might look like, what I'm empowered to go to. But until it's settled with the new owner, then the ball's in their court, I would imagine.
Right. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Kay. Ladies and gentlemen, are there any further questions? I'll just ask one more time if there's any further questions before we move to the next item. Okay, so question time is finished. So we'll now move to item 8, which is notices of motion. I'd remind attendees, as outlined in the agenda, please ensure you meet the voting eligibility requirements before participating in voting, which means you need to be a resident and elector of the town. So motions raised at this meeting will be considered at the next available Ordinary Council meeting. That'll be the 24th of March. Please use the yellow voting slips provided by raising them when prompted. Now we've received one notice of motion prior to tonight's meeting, and I would ask Ms. Quinton if she would like to come to the microphone. Ms. Quinton, I'm going to read out your notice of motion. I'm just going to read out the actual motion itself, and then you've got rationale and what have you, so you may speak to that, but you can't speak to it until I've got a seconder for the notice of motion, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, for your knowledge, the motion reads that the General Electors Meeting requests the Chief Executive Officer, the CEO of the Town of Bassendean, to direct relevant staff to assist the local community in remediating and restoring the river beach located at the end of Deacon Street in Bassendean. Ladies and gentlemen, do I have a seconder for that motion? Sir, would you like to give us your name and address for the minutes? Thank you. Ms Quinton, would you like to speak to your notice of motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's really nice to be back in the chamber. 2 short statements. Loving whatever anyone is doing online. The puppy, dog videos, the content is excellent. Keep it coming. And I would expect that if John Gandrel came back into this chamber, he'd be mortified that the Queen has been removed, and he'd probably be talking about weeds. That would be another thing. So it's really nice to be back and seeing lovely friends and faces in this room. I have been living on Deacon Street for 10 years, but long before that, when I was about 2 or 3 years old, I also lived on Bassendean Parade. So the embankment that goes down from Deacon Street to the river has been long part of my childhood, and now it's 50 metres from my house. As long and as far back as I can remember, that beachfront has always been very dilapidated. There's always been bricks and wire and fallen over trees. I took my little nephew there the other day. It is not safe for children to use that section of the river, and I think if Mr Grogan might be interested in that part of the river and us enjoying the river, then we should enjoy all of the river that we have access to in Bassendean. All I'm requesting of this motion is that the town of Bassendean support the local community. I was hoping that Nonnie Jacobsons would be here because she and I did a little recce down there at the end of last year, but she's not. So I know that she is in support. I do know that possibly the Bassendean Preservation Society might be in support of delivering and working with the town on trees, and that the Friends of Bindaring might also be in support. All I'm asking for is town partnership with the community to help remediate the beach, there is no beach, it's just mud, so that we can use that area, which is quite close to my home. I declare a proximity interest. But that also, if it is required, any cultural permissions that we might need could be done on behalf of the community by the town. Any other requirements we might need with the Swan River Trust, I imagine, just to do in partnership as an empowerment project, one that we would like to deliver. Any costs or rubbish could be managed by the town. We would like to plant trees there as well, but also maybe put a nice little accessible path down. I noticed that there have been 6 trees that have been planted, but we'd like to beautify the space a little bit more, make it play-based, not playgrounds, but play-based for children to use. So that would be my motion. Thank you for seconding it.
Thank you. Seconder, would you like to speak to this item as well? No? Okay. Before we proceed, is there anyone against this item? Ms Seidel, okay. I will ask the person who is against to speak against it.
I too have been living in Bassendean for a long time, but I know the section that Sarah is referring to. I think it would be best first if, like I'm a member of Friends of Bindaring Park, and other community groups should be consulted before it actually comes to council. That's my opinion. I also am concerned down there that people who do have properties that go down to that section of the river use that section to drive into their properties. So we do already have cars. There's one on, if you're looking at the river, there's one on that side. Anyway, I just think that before the council sort of, looks at the possibilities and feasibilities, I feel that the community groups should be asked to come on board, and then that justifies why the town of Bassendean should go forward on it. That's my view. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other members of the community who would like to speak for this motion? Are there any other members of the community who'd like to speak against this motion? Ms Quinton, would you like to come to the microphone and close?
Thank you. I do know the gentleman that lives on the right. I've known him since I was 2 years old, and I have spoken to him about it. The driveway doesn't go down to the embankment that I'm talking about. I have had informal conversations, not formal conversations, though I expect that with the town's endorsement as a backbone to this project, that something like this probably couldn't go ahead without town support. And I'm saying that possibly because of the amount of rubbish that is in the river that does need waste management. That I don't think is something that the Friends of Bindaring or any community group could do on their own, unless of course they put it in the red bin, which I'm sure someone in the rubbish department is freaking out about as I say this. So we do need town support for this to happen in terms of making sure that it is culturally appropriate. That is something that the town would have relationships in managing, waste management as well, but also it's town land. Am I correct in saying, can I qualify that it's town land? I would be remiss to start planting or moving rubbish on something that is not my land. So before we do any proper consultation with community groups, I absolutely think that the town councillors and the town needs to agree to the concept of this proposal, and perhaps at council meeting when this comes up, that there be an amendment to the motion that might say to consult with community groups. Of course, it doesn't have to be Bindaring, Wetlands, Friends of Bindaring. If they do not want to be involved, then they do not have to be involved. But at least you might put in an amendment to the motion to say they might be consulted if they would like to be involved.
Thank you, Ms Quinton. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to put that to the vote. All those people in favour of the motion put to this chamber by Ms Quinton, please raise your yellow card now. Okay. All those, if you lower your hands, all those opposed to the motion, please raise your yellow card. That's three. So that motion is carried. As indicated, these motions will come to a future council meeting and be considered at a future council meeting. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, do I have any others in the chamber who would like to put forward a motion for the consideration of council at this meeting, at a future meeting? No? Okay. I'll remind everyone that resolutions from this evening will be considered at the 24th of March Ordinary Council meeting. And I now declare this meeting closed at 6:45. No, 6:45, sorry. Thank you.